Now, this week saw Homeland Security Chief Alejandro Mayorkas get grilled by House Republicans in a hearing about the southern border. Mayorkas was accused of lying and intentionally allowing the crisis at the border to worsen during his leadership as the number of illegal crossings grows. Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of the politicians on the committee who did not hold back. Have a look at this.
That we're not letting it go on. We are fighting this.
No, I reclaim my time. You're a liar. You are letting this go on, and the numbers prove it. You can't lie about the facts, Secretary Mayorkas. While you live in denial and sit over there with this attitude that you're doing everything right, you are killing Americans with your policies. And that is a fact. Your policies are killing people, over 300 Americans a day, over 300, and it's outrageous.
Ouch! Joining me to discuss this is investigative border and immigration reporter for the Daily Caller, Jennie Taer. Jennie, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Jennie, what did you make of this hearing? What were the big messages to come out of it?
You know, one of the things that really stuck out to me was some questioning that came from Congressman August Pfluger from Texas. He asked Mayorkas to confront the Tambunga family. Now, that family has been a victim firsthand of this crisis. They lost a grandmother and her grandchild to a smuggler who was being chased along the border in his vehicle. He did not yield, and therefore he actually hit them with his car, and they were killed immediately. This is something that, you know, affects people firsthand along the border that live there that we don't always see every day or experience every day. These people are touched by it constantly. And unfortunately for this family, a real tragedy happened to them. And the congressman asked Mayorkas to turn around and offer them an apology in the room. And he did turn around, but didn't really offer an apology, just some words of comfort that, you know, they're in his thoughts, essentially, and then did meet with the family after. But I did sit down with them just before that meeting. They were very concerned with the lack of border security coming from Mayorkas's DHS.
And tell us about your encounter with that family. You did an interview with them, I know. Just paint a picture of that human cost, and what you're seeming to describe is a real lawlessness basically along the entire southern U.S. border where law enforcement does not have control. Is this going to be a bigger issue this year than it normally is in a U.S. election?
I think this is going to be a huge issue because now it's not just affecting those southern border states and communities, but it's affecting the entirety of the U.S. interior. You see communities like Denver overrun with large surges of illegal immigrants that are going to areas that they know are sanctuary cities like Denver, or going to New York City, where Mayor Eric Adams is actually overwhelmed by them and sending some of them to the northern border where they're crossing into Canada. And I've seen that firsthand as well. And that's exactly what they've been doing. And so it is having effects on the rest of the country. We know that ICE has a lot of their hands are tied when it comes to interior enforcement. So a lot of the shifts in priorities under the Biden administration have involved not taking as much action against crime committed by illegal immigrants, as in not deporting everyone who commits a crime, and even crimes that, you know, you or I or normal Americans would think are pretty egregious, such as drunk driving, which happens often.
And Jennie, I mean, it's not just illegal migrants, but in this crowd, I'm told that they have found people who are on terrorist watch lists and this sort of thing. So there's a security element, a real national security element, too. Can you tell us more about that?
So this fiscal year in the United States, between October and March, Border Patrol at the southern border has already apprehended 80 individuals whose names are on the terror watch list. The northern border has also seen some. They've seen 2 so far this fiscal year. The concern is who's getting away. Who are they not catching? Because obviously, with the surge of millions of people pouring across, they just can't have the manpower to be able to catch everyone, and they don't. They have thousands of people running each day that aren't apprehended because Border Patrol and other federal law enforcement resources are tied up with having to process these folks, to talk to them about their asylum claims, to give them court dates, and then to release them to local NGOs who help them on their way.
Finally, Jennie, something we hear a lot about and see in the headlines is Title 42. Can you explain what that is? It's going to be ending. It's a Trump-era border policy, I believe. And what are border agents expecting to happen when this policy ends?
Yes, so Title 42 was put in place by the Trump administration. It's a public health order that was implemented to mitigate the spread of COVID during the pandemic. And what it did was it applied to certain nationalities that we could quickly expel from the southern border. They were not processed. They would just immediately be sent back to Mexico or to their home countries. So it mostly has applied to Mexicans and Central Americans. The Biden administration has actually expanded that order to include Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, Haitians, and Cubans. Now, Title 42 is set to end with the national public health emergency ending on May 11th. And Border Patrol agents are telling me that they know a surge is coming. People are waiting across in Mexico for the end of Title 42. They're waiting to come over by then. And with the current surge, it's really unfathomable what could happen. They really don't have any kind of tools to help with what's to come. That's what they've told me, that they really haven't been given a plan by DHS and by their superiors in Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection.
Jennie Taer, thank you so much for painting this grim picture for us from the Daily Caller. Appreciate your time, and check out her Instagram. She's got some fascinating content there, too.